Good morning and good afternoon to all the participants of the ICON ACES 2022 conference in Chennai, India, organized by VIT. First, I want to thank the organizers to give me the opportunity to make this presentation. And the title of the presentation is Consolidation of the CAD CAE sectors and its impact on academia. My name is Nader Zamani, excuse me, and I'm a professor of mechanical engineering at the University of Windsor in Ontario, Canada. Now, this is an expository presentation, and it goes through a brief history and developments of the CAD CAE sector in the past 40, 50 years. Now, it's going to be restricted to, because of my background, it is going to be restricted to the CAE software and CAD circle, which are affiliated with the finite element analysis in solid mechanics. I will not touch on the CFD or other aspects of CAE. And the software that I'm going to be at least briefly bringing up on the screen later on are just a representative. There's a lot more there that I may not have covered, but these are the the primary software in the past 40 years. Now, certain names that I'm going to mention may be unfamiliar to some of the audience here, and partly because I consider myself an old timer, and some of these things go back to about 50 years ago. Here is the essential CAE software. When you go back to the 1990s, mid-1990s, you came across these CAE software, and mostly they were finite elements. These were capable of doing solid mechanics, but they did not include anything related to fluids, which were actually developed or made publicly and widely available to the industry maybe 10 years later. Now, as far as the CAD software is concerned, these were the main players. And on top of the list, I put on CATIA there because of my particular interest in and knowledge of CATIA, but there were other ones that you can see here. The vendors, they were mainly cornered. The vendors that mainly cornered the market are listed here, and I'll say a few words about some of these things later on. You can see that it was a crowded market. Incidentally, if you go to this list, some of them may look familiar to you. For example, SDRC had the program ideas. Structural Dynamics Research Corporation, HKS, was developer of Abacus. The Dassault System obviously started with CATIA, etc. Now, in the 1990s, the private sector, the industries realized that there is a mismatch, there is a disconnect between the CAD software and the finite element software, or let me put it as CAE software. So the CAE analysts could not clearly communicate their findings to the CAD designers and the other way around. And this is why it was a move by the industry to push these vendors in a certain direction. Now, in 1995, you may recall that basically Windows 95 hit the market, and that dramatically changed the landscape. And this is when the vendors started making a lot of acquisitions and in the form of software packages and bundling it with other things. some of the software basically disappeared. Now, uh, how does that crowded landscape look today? Well, there is mainly the SAW systems, there is Siemens PLM, and these are trying to put everything that possibly industry wants and bundle it as a business platform. And then there are others such as ANSYS Multiphysics, PTC Creo, and Altair, and Adena, and these are mostly uh, CAE packages, FEA packages, or fluids packages, etc. I do not consider them as CAD as CAD platforms. Now, and these three are mostly used by industry, by academia, whereas the other ones are widely used in industry. Now, remember, this is what we had before, that crowded picture, which has kind of been reduced to only two main players and three otherwise, CAE vendors. Now, I'm going to be concentrating on Dassault systems, and mainly because of my interest, which is in CATIA and 3D experience. And Dassault systems is primarily owning those things. And there are other ones, of course, and that's Siemens PLM, but the story is similar in the case of Siemens, but I will not discuss it any further. Okay. Now, here's the highlight of the story behind the Dassault systems. It was actually began in 1981, although prior to that, in the form of Marcel Aviation, uh, which was later on the Dassault system branched off it. So it goes back to the 1970s in the form of aviation company. And it was the main developer of CATIA, and the reason CATIA was used actually was widely by aerospace industry is because of its roots which had in Marcel Aviation. Now, inside of that CATIA program, somewhere around 1990s, they put a French version of a stripped down version of a French code, which was called Elfini. And of course, Elfini stands for Element Fini, means finite elements. And at that time, IBM was basically teaming up with the software sales, marketing, etc. Now, this is obviously CATIA was and is state of the art state of the art industry standard for CAD activities, but the stuff which is buried in there in the form of this code Elfini is very limited in its capabilities. They included there because they felt that it was felt that the CAD analyst slash beginning engineer, initial design engineer, should have some access to a basic FEA seamlessly integrated into CATIA. Now, the limitations of this Elfini program is infinitesimal displacement, infinitesimal, obviously, rotation, strain, infinitesimal strain, linear material properties, and very limited contact capabilities. Now, that was actually an Achilles heel for the CATIA program, or the CAE capabilities of the CATIA program. Now, by the way, around 1997, SolidWorks, which was a separate company, was acquired by Dassault System, and was and later on the Cosmos program, which was also at that time back then a reasonably established computer program, was acquired and in fact buried inside SolidWorks, just like Elfini was buried inside CATIA, Cosmos work was buried inside SolidWorks. In the last, since 2013, they have made a lot more acquisitions, and some of these, for example, that's Simpo is an injection molding package. This thing is a PLM package, and down here is a cloud native distributed SQL database. Okay. Now, in 2014, Dassault decided to go in a separate direction, and that is when they rolled out the 3D experience, and it's a business platform which, I mean, the idea is to have everything in it integrated seamlessly. And this is how Dassault actually is describing the 3D experiences strong points. Okay, now this is directly taken from a Dassault publication. Now, when they did that, inside of the FEA, inside of the 3D experience, CATIA is the workhorse for CAD capabilities. And the FEA package, Elfini was replaced with the HKS's Abacus program, which was acquired in 2005. No more feeling limitation. So if you look at one of the main screens of the 3D experience, you see SolidWorks buried there, CATIA is buried there, and there's Simulia, which is basically having all the FEA stuff in it. Okay, so and for example, if you look at the CATIA, those of you who are your CATIA user have used CATIA, you see that icons have changed, interface has changed. However, the essentials are there: part design, assembly design, generative shape design, etc. Or if you look at Simulia, uh, you can see that there's these things, and some of these are fluids related, but this is the one that is actually having in it the Abacus program, Okay, so CATIA is still the CAD tool within the 3D experience. There have been major improvements in certain aspects. For example, there used to be within CATIA there used to be a mannequin workbench or human builder, and typically if you brought a mannequin inside a CATIA V5, it looked like this. Now in 3D experience, they have acquired uh, other strong features so that you have a great deal of flexibility. If you compare this with that, obviously you can see there's a great deal of improvement. You can go all the way down to the facial features of the mannequin. And now industry's reception of these improvements is that, well, it's great. Everything is seamlessly in the same program. It's robust, highly respected software individually, CATIA, HKS, or Abacus, etc., integrating a seamless bundle, a seamless panel. A lot of companies are using it. You see that, and the installation can be off-site or on the cloud, on-site or on the cloud because of the confidentiality, and industry is very keen about that. And there are excellent training for free or for by the sub partner on public domain. But there are some issues. There is a learning curve. Somebody who knows CATIA or Abacus cannot just acquire all the skills that are needed to do it on 3D experience immediately. There is a learning curve, and companies are in many cases unwilling to commit to this learning curve. As far as the academia is concerned, there are everything is one place, great positive. It's on the cloud, so you don't have to worry about the administration. The collaborative aspects of it is great. You can do it for student project, colleagues collaborating with each other, and a lot of information is available in public domain. Uh, Abacus, adding Abacus to the 3DX was a great improvement, and challenges you need to have a good internet connection and people who there there are very frequent changes in the interface to include all the aspects of the CATIA program of the Abacus program within the 3D experience. And unfortunately for laptop users, there's also some graphics card limitations, but has to be addressed. Now, realizing I was asked by the thought to be one of the members of the steering committee on simulation, so I realizing that there's very little information at that time. I did have. I'm going to show you some of the educational things that are available now. I did these 3 books, one on general CAD modeling, the other one is mechanism design, and the finite element one. And I also prepared some material for online distribution. There's a website that I've created, and it's got stuff on CATIA and some things on 3D Experience. There is this site by Dassault, which is very useful, and one of the people who was responsible for setting this up, David Martin, did an excellent job in preparing a bunch of video segments on CATIA, or not CATIA, on Abacus. There is a Go Engineer site, which is excellent for some of the more recent videos. And there's this called PLM, but they started doing this. I'm not sure why. It's called PLM technology. I think it's in Finland, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty much it. I hope that some of you found this presentation useful. Those who may not have the opportunity to look into the experience or um, work with CATIA program, and how they bring, there's a reincarnation of them in the 3D Experience Business Platform. I'll be glad to answer any question if there are any. Thank you.